Welcome to podcast 370 of 5-Star Potential, your weekly football manager podcast. I'm Dave, and on this week's pod, not only am I joined by Paul, aka Mad FM, we're delighted to welcome a very special guest this week. We've got Clayts. Clayts, how you keeping, man?
I am very well. How are you guys?
Good. Very good, yeah. Very. Is it your first appearance on the pod?
I think I've been on before, but I think it was way back, like lockdown times.
Yeah.
Potentially
Did you do one of the social
potentially
ones?
twice. I definitely did a social, and
Oh.
I feel like maybe
There you
I'm
go.
not sure, but yeah, definitely one of those.
Throwbacks, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's the
Great
hat trick
times.
ball. We don't know.
Meh.
Could be the hat trick ball onto the channel. On this week's pod, obviously we'll do the usual winners and losers, but we'll talk a lot more about Clayts' football manager journey, not over the last 12 months or so, but even further on as well. Mad, how you been keeping this week? You been up to much? Any winners, losers?
I'll get the loser out of the way. The loser is the Republic of Ireland and our Icelandic manager that none of us can pronounce because we have just been absolutely dog shit in the recent international break, as you lads would have seen. I mean, I don't even want to talk about the fact that it had to be Declan Rice and Jack Grealish, both of whom
What
have
are the
played underage and or more for Ireland, who both fucking scored with a manager over England who played for Ireland. It was just written. I was watching it in the pub and fuck, there were some angry people in that pub watching that game. And then we went and we said, oh yeah, look, it's England. Obviously England are miles ahead of us. We went and played Greece and we're even probably worse and lost 2-0.
Oh, dear.
At home as well. So it's all around a shambles, really. You know, like we've never been brilliant, but we've had, you know, decent kind of history in terms of qualifying for tournaments. But man, it's grim now. Even with them opening up tournaments, it is grim. You know, our chances of
Any pressure on
qualifying
this
for-
new guy or not? Already or not?
I mean, there's more pressure on the FAI, which is our FA basically. They put John O'Shea in there for 6 games after Stephen Kenny left. John O'Shea knows the place inside out. You know, put a lot of work in with, you know, the players he got when he got them. And then they just decided, okay, we'll just bring in this guy who was given no real time, has an interesting track record. Like they were trying to make out that he was their first choice all along, even though they delayed the decision from April till whenever it was, August or something. I don't know. It's nonsense. So I don't really understand it, to be honest. I mean, look, he could prove everyone wrong, and it's still very early doors, but we just looked as bad as we've ever looked, and that's a depressing thought.
Yeah. Any winners though, or is it just all doom and
Oh
gloom?
yeah, Clayts is here. No, winner. I'll tell you what. I'm going to throw it out there. I think I mentioned this on Monday. I returned to university for the first. So I originally went to university for the younger listeners in 2004 is when I would have done my degree originally. In another lifetime, but I've returned. I mentioned to you lads on the pod a few weeks ago. I'm gone back to the masters. It's in sports journalism, so I'm back in on campus there on Monday to a place I didn't really know that well. Was wandering around, trying to figure out what was going on. Dudes, I'm 37, and it was Freshers Week, so all these first years are walking around like dead excited about college, and I'm like literally old enough to be their father. So. Surreal experience, but I survived the first couple of days and lived to tell the tale. Yeah.
I was going to say I was 7 when you started uni for the first time,
Fuck.
Matt, just to make you feel a little bit older. So,
Not
there
that
you
young.
Oh
go.
dear. So that's therein surmises how odd it felt going back. But I'm looking forward to it. Early signs are really great, and I am the oldest guy in the class, but there's a few that aren't too far behind me.
Has anyone thought you were going to be the lecturer yet or not?
Do you know, I was going to do it. I was so tempted, but she was there on the first class on the first morning. She was there before I even got there. So yeah, I was going to go in and just write Mr. Madden on the board and tell her to sit the fuck down. But she called my bluff on that one.
No, as long as you enjoy it, mate. As long as you enjoy it. Before we move on to Clayts' stuff, just a few quick things. Obviously, Dupe's not here because he's having his briefing of some sort for his big charity event. I think it's a big charity walk that he's doing this weekend. We spoke about it a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but if you guys want to contribute to his fundraiser, I'll make sure I leave a link to it. Although the pod will be out by the time it's done, I'm sure you'll still be able to donate to support him. And the podcast, for some reason, technical issues last week, it had gone live. An issue with the recording on my part, and then for some reason, it just didn't upload itself. So, Mad, you can throw me under the bus if you want.
No, we have to give a shout out to long-time listener Jace, Jace Takano, a lot of will know in the FM community. he's usually one of the first to listen to it on a Monday morning, and most of us know by now that Dave isn't usually in work on a Monday morning due to the shift he works. So Dave was probably in bed, and Chase was having a listen, and he's sending Dupe and me a WhatsApp just going, "Come here, the podcast is just Dave breathing," and I was like, "Oh no, what's this?"
Well, I basically uploaded my own audio, so there was about 150 people that listened to it. I woke up at 9:30 on Monday morning. I've got about 4 messages, one off Jason, a video, one in the group chat you, and then one off Duke privately as well. And I was like, oh no. So that got pulled. But then for some reason, Spotify didn't put the new podcast out. And so it went live on Monday evening. If anyone hasn't caught it, it was actually a really good podcast worth going back to listen to as well. But
and if anyone out there has any skills or experience in editing podcasts, we're very interested to hear from you.
I hopefully it won't happen again anyway. But yeah.
I'm really conscious of my breathing now.
Yeah.
I'm like...
No, we appreciate you jumping on the pod again, Clayts, because it's been another busy year for you in terms of Football Manager content creation. And obviously we spoke to Matt Sekin-Elakar last week about the FIFAe World Cup with Football Manager, which we'll touch on with you as well. But FM24, how's it been for you? What you been up to this year in terms of saves? Any highlights for you for the past 12 months or so?
Yeah, it's been another good year, I'd probably call it. I've not done loads. It's I've just been ticking along doing my own thing really this year. I've done a big journeyman save really as my Twitch save. I play the game so slowly, so I think it's my one save of the year, and I think I've done 10 seasons, 11 seasons, and a lot of that is just me playing offline as well. But yeah, no, it's been good. I've been about the place, started at Calathea in Greece, been through to AIK Sweden. Where do we go then? I think it was Venezia, Anderlecht, Feyenoord, and then Atletico Madrid just now. We went unbeaten and won the Champions League. So I'm in my head, I'm like, whether we get any further than this now, I've kind of finished it. But I thought that FM25 was on the horizon. However, we may chat about that today a little bit, I'm sure. But might need to extend things slightly.
Dupe was not Dupe. Mad was managing AIK, and I mean, it's probably a good job that Dupe isn't here. How did you do? How did you do in Sweden?
Yeah, actually, I went in, and AIK, I think, because their season's the December to December one, so you kind of. So when I went in, I think they were 10 games into the season, and they were bottom 3, doing dreadfully. But I won the league that season because they had a really good team, and they shouldn't have been down there. So that's obviously why the manager got the sack, and I went in, and they so I think won the league that season, then the second season afterwards. Really fun, actually. If I was going to do a save, I could see myself doing a save in Sweden, and AIK especially now, because mainly I chose them because they have lovely kits, don't they? But no,
they really do. Yeah.
They do. So yeah, no, it was really good. And I know, Mad, who you're going to ask me about, because I've seen you on Twitter a few times with this particular striker, right?
You can't not talk about it because I did the save at AIK. It was almost the jersey that enticed me.
Yeah.
Plus, I just ran over the summer before, I met a guy who was an Ike fan, and he was just talking to me about the club, and I was like, okay, done. So and then obviously Alexander Isak used to play for them. I read some stuff in the academy. I think I did 5-6 seasons at them, and they're a really good squad. I don't know how they were nearly bottom of the league when you arrived. But what I didn't know when I started that save, and obviously spent about 6 months preaching on about him, was they have if memory serves me correct, he was 15 when I started the save.
Yeah.
A 6'5", 6 striker, Jonah Kusiasera up front.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He was an absolute animal. I was playing him at 16 in the save, and he was scoring for fun. He got a move to Bayern in real life. I think you would have spotted that as well.
Yeah, he did.
And I think I sold him to Dortmund for, I want to say 45 million maybe, or something like that. And he was still only like 17, 18. And insane player in the game. Be interesting to see what he looks like in FM25.
Yeah, I had to really manipulate it to keep hold of him. So you sold him for 45 million. I sold him for, I think it was 1.8 mil. However, journeyman save
clause,
and
insert clause.
So what I managed to do was, I think that was after the first season, and he wouldn't sign a new contract with me. He basically wanted to go because all of these big teams were in for him. I think it was Benfica in the end that signed him, but I managed to get the loan back straight away for another season. So I was like, I'm happy to sell you for this if I can put the loan back in. So put that in and then kept him for another season, then left anyway after that season. So kind of worked out for me. I've been like meaning to re-sign him at some point in the save, but I think we've probably moved past him now with new gens. But yeah, that's how much that's how much I noticed how good he was, because I'm thinking he's still on my shortlist every year. But yeah, he's so good.
It's a good technique for the journeyman as well. Like
Yeah.
if you're only going to be around for 18 months in a club.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Careful.
Let them go and loan them back.
Yeah.
Just say nothing.
You just have to be so careful not to abuse it too much with things like, well, I can spend whatever I want here because I'm going to move anyway. You have to keep it a little bit, vaguely realistic.
Dave likes this.
Yeah.
That's what I've been in on the Pentagon though. Like I haven't done an update on the pod for a while, but I'm still being sensible. I'm thinking like I've got one to go now. So with Bragantino at the moment this week, I've got a budget and I'm staying sort of within that budget, but I thought I could push it a few more, installments over the next 2 or 3 years or so.
Yeah.
So I've just gone for it and spent a bit more money for this window because I just want to push it, get it done. But like you said, like I could try and rush and try and get the save done in the next couple of weeks or so. But then what do we do for the next few weeks? The network save between me, Matt, and Dupe. I don't know what's going on at the moment with that. We do need to pencil in some time. I know Mad's been busy and obviously back at uni, so it may be something. But Dupe started an offline save, which I'm sure we'll hear about next week as well. But I'd assume, Clayts, with the amount of content you're putting out on YouTube as well, you're sort of managing your free time between your Twitch save, but also doing that content as well. I haven't really caught it this year. I think you've done another one, but the Director of Football save last year was a highlight of mine. Have you done much of that again this year as well?
Yeah, so I went back to earlier in FM24. We did this year's version of it. I think, the first one we did it really kind of caught fire and people seemed to love it. We did the Spurs one then, and then with the will still going on, it was the narratives that developed from it were really, really fun. So I sort of continued that universe almost and did one with Paris FC this year. So we did the whole Director of Football thing. So I set up the universe as if it was the manager. Johan Dumont was the manager we brought in. It was a new gen manager in that Spurs one. We brought him it was Almeria. We were at the time. So he came in and we managed to win the league with them on 23. So I set him up as the new owner at Paris FC in this year's game and kind of moved it across that way. It's good fun. I think it's the perfect way to play FM if you just have no time and you just like doing transfers, which is kind of my favorite part of it a lot of the time anyway. So no, I recommend it as a way of playing the game just to try it and see.
So if people are listening that didn't really catch the series, what was it? How did you sort of set it up? What was the premise of it?
So basically you appoint a manager who is your assistant manager in game, and then you just defer all of the responsibilities to him in terms of the match tactics and going to the match, and then you as the Director of Football just then do the contracts and the transfer stuff. And the way that you get around not having to play the games instead of just holidaying is that you can holiday each day past the match, and I add another manager into the game who is the watching man who watches those games to see how the assistant manager's doing. So you still attend the games, but you have no decisions to make, or you're just watching what the assistant manager does. It's quite fun that all of your success, whether you get sacked or not, depends on how well that assistant manager does as well. So you can kind of have fun with it, and then you're trying to like whether you want to sack your assistant manager and bring in a new one because he's not performing. So we've had some fun just with the narratives around that a little bit as well.
I remember watching the Spurs one. You had a great team that you put together on that one for a little while. That was good fun. Good watch that was.
Yeah, it was good fun.
So would you spend hours and weeks just trying to because like one of the things I probably have never done in FM is ask the board to increase the assistant manager wages. Because you usually probably wouldn't need to, right? But I assume that would be a big kind of a thing for you because you're always going to be somewhat limited to get a manager as the assistant manager in game, if that makes sense. Yeah,
so that was, weirdly, and it seems to just be by chance, by luck in different saves. You can, you get the ex-players or some managers start to become coaches or assistant managers in the game. Like in my journeyman save this year I think it was when I got to Venezia, Eddie Howe's one of my coaches. He's an unbelievable coach, but I don't know why he's a coach now. So that can happen during these, and you can manage to get an actual manager in as your assistant. Otherwise, you're kind of having to be a bit like creative with which ones you bring in and think about who's going to be. I think I had Gino Peruzzi as my first assistant manager in the Spurs save.
He was a right back in one of the old.
Oh, not Gino Peruzzi, Angelo Peruzzi. Gino was the right back. The blocker
I remember
one.
him I remember watching that episode.
No, Angelo Peruzzi was the came in as the manager, and then we had Will Still, who would still come in as an assistant manager. Get those assistant wages up as much as possible. I think in the end we did manipulate things slightly and bring in I think this year we brought in Simeone and just did it using the editor as he's going to be the manager now. We've got to a point we're going to appoint an actual manager. But yeah, just having fun with it, really.
I used to see.
Find many of them. Sorry, Dave.
Go on, Matt. You go.
No, I was just gonna say, did you lose many many managers to other jobs, as and when clubs are sacking players and then trying to offer them contracts?
Less of that. We did lose one assistant manager just wouldn't sign a new contract, so just left at the end of his contract. So that was one. I can't remember who it was, but at one point we lost one that way. Otherwise, no, it was okay. But I think the more you play, that would happen. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Probably years ago now, Neil Warnock used to, whenever he left his first job, you could have him as a scout or a chief scout.
Yeah.
And he was all right as well. Big Neil Warnock.
So. That rings a bell. I feel like I've done that as well.
Yeah. The Phil Cannon as well, though, because I don't know if he's on this year's game or last year's game. But I remember he went missing for like a good 4 or 5 years. I think on the database, they sort of put him out of the game because I don't think he was working. I don't think he was in football anymore. But his attributes were just so OP, weren't they? And then he came back in the last year or so. So Phil Cannon, probably the GOAT of free agent staff members. Back in. But we sort of alluded to it earlier, Clay. It's FN25, although it's sort of not quite on the immediate horizon. There's been a lot of talk about it, not so much speculation, but a lot of talk about it. We spoke about it a little bit with Matt last week because we had the press release sort of dropped on the day of recording. But your recent video, it was titled, "Is FM25 going to be a disaster?"
Yeah.
What was the feedback that you got? Or, I mean, what did you say on this? But what was the feedback that you've got? Because, I mean, you mentioned before we clicked record that you have had sort of back and forth with quite a few FM fans as well.
Yeah, there's so my general perception, the way that I spoke about things in the video was quite leveled, and I don't think it's going to be a disaster. That's very much one of those YouTube titles. However,
of course,
however, the comment section seemingly overwhelmingly, at least with the loud minority, perhaps think it is going to be a disaster. It seems it's been hard work. It's been a lot of biting my tongue not to reply to a lot of comments, particularly about the inclusion of women's football, and seemingly in most people's eyes, that being the reason that international management has been removed or is being taken out of the game for next year, where it feels a lot of 2 add 2 and getting 5 with that one. But when, agendas will agenda, won't they? And then also a lot of people really, really upset that weight isn't going to be visible in the game. And I just can't understand why people care.
When was the last time somebody looked at a player and looked at their weight to sign him?
I'm not signing him. I think he's a kilo or two overweight for me.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But Luke and I so I've been doing a few videos with different people where we're creating ourselves and putting ourselves in the game, and then seeing how our careers go. And there's a few little things you can do, like move yourself. You can move yourself once to a team in the league above, that type of thing, just to see who can have the best career between two creators. Luke and I spent a lot of the video talking about our weights because they were fluctuating so much, and I think that genuinely is the only time I've ever mentioned weight in FM content. It's just, I can't understand why people, especially when there's going to still be a strength attribute, and also the weight attribute is still going to be there. It's just not going to be visible. It's not like visible. It's just, I don't know. It feels this happens a lot with anything to do with, I think, most games these days, not just Football Manager. If there is anything, there seems to be a big group of people that will shout and moan. I think that's just happening at the moment.
It's like the kid who wasn't playing with the toy, but when you take the toy away, all he absolutely wants to do is play with that toy. And it's kind of like, well, you didn't even know it was there until you brought it up. So I don't buy into that at all.
I would say a good 95% of the people in that comment section, Clayts, will still buy the game anyway.
Yeah.
more than likely. It's I don't know. I don't think there's enough. I think we mentioned it last week. I think it's a little bit of a concern that
Yeah.
at the moment features seem to be taken away rather than big key headline features, which I can appreciate if that was people's concern, but to moan about the things that they're taking away, or same with international management,
Yeah.
I think people liked it because it was almost a luxury, like you knew it was there, but I haven't touched international management for years. I know obviously everyone's different, but the numbers must be minuscule on international management, really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing as well, isn't it? That
Yeah.
lots of people not playing it because it hasn't really been fleshed out for as a part of the game anyway. So is that why people don't touch it, or is it that people aren't interested? And I think also you're going to always get the people who are more likely to go and do international management are going to be the people who are the hardcore, the ones that are watching content online and actually engaging with Twitter posts about it rather than the casual player. But I just think if they're removing it because they want it to come back and make it better. I actually did a video not that long ago I just did a Twitter post and just asked people what should we fix about Football Manager for FM25. International management did come up loads in that one, but because people want it to be better. It just feels to me that actually the reason it's not in this year's game or the upcoming game is because they are going to try and make it better, and that's what they've struggled to do. So I think it's just a case of maybe being patient. But like you say, it is also, I think it's fair to have concerns and be a bit worried about things. I think there's been a few fair comments that I've had that have been things like there hasn't been loads of positive communication about the game so much. There's been like general updates, but in amongst all of those general updates, there's been some, but this is happening, and because of this is happening. So I feel like the maybe the overall feeling towards it, people can be concerned. I think when there's concern, people take that to the nth degree and turn it into pure panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also think that people have probably, I don't want to say forgotten, but just maybe not, or slightly underestimated what this move to Unity means.
Yeah.
And, we've seen very limited things on it, right? We've seen very little, anything, match engine, even some of the menus and the overlook. But the whole thing is obviously being changed. And it was a long time ago that was announced.
Yeah.
So, like, that's obviously a shit ton of work for all of the people in Sports Interactive who are just dealing with it every day. But for probably a lot of people online, it's been like, oh, yeah, well, they announced this a year ago. I haven't heard anything since. And now you're just telling us all the stuff that's not going to be in there 2 months before the game comes out.
Yeah.
It's easy to get isolated in that mindset because they've not told us a lot, because there's probably a lot they're about to tell us.
Yeah.
They're going to tell us because we haven't seen anything. We just haven't seen anything, and it's a timing thing, obviously. So yeah, it's the usual every year.
It is, yeah.
Miles will be muting tweets very soon.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's when we had the conversation earlier on. It felt like probably for a lot of players that the beta or whatever was within touching distance, and now that's almost been taken away or pushed back. So that's probably annoyed people a little bit as well, to be fair. But I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks you have some positive news. We get maybe some glimpses of what the match engine is going to be like, and we could talk about that a little bit more. But certainly, again, I was talking to Clayts before we started the recording. I don't have that many people associated with the FM community other than content creators on my timelines on social media. So I've sort of seen the content creators' point of view, and I think there are, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, lads, but it's mainly positive from people within the content creation world, I feel. But there are some, like the casual player, like even when the user interface came out, there was a lot of negativity towards that, and I thought it looked quite nice, a fresh look. I was intrigued. Again, people don't like change when the skins and Football Manager layout has been the same for years, pretty much ever since the game came out, really. So people won't like change, but I'm intrigued by it. I think it'd be harsh to write it off before we even play it. So fingers crossed. There's some more positive news coming up. But Clayts, we spoke to Matt last week about the FIFAe World Cup. We did speak in depth with him about that as a participant. If people obviously want to listen to that, feel free to go and check that out. Your role there was a little bit different because you went mainly as a co-streamer, a sort of a host, and even a spectator. Tell us, what were your thoughts on that tournament? What sort of thing did you get up to?
It was so I dipped in and then dipped out quite quickly. And I was there. It was really a stop dash, a little visit from me. However, it was so cool to be part of the small little role that I played. So I got to co-stream it. So to like stream on my channel, just updates, and I was there officially as an influencer. So I got my badge actually said influencer. So I feel like in a way I've made it. Not sure I wanted to make it to that particular place, but in a way I've made
Officially now you have, because you're on the pod. So
well, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. We heard, so we better.
That's why I got the call up. Yeah. But no, it was.
That's why I do pay to.
Yeah. Did we say that on the pod, or was that before we were saying do pay to me?
Oh, it's out there now anyway.
But yeah, no, it was a really surreal moment. So I wasn't there the day before when everyone sort of arrived and got themselves set up and settled in. So I came in the morning of the first season playthrough. So I was there before any of before Matt and Aaron were there and Jack and Tom were there. So I was just getting set up with my little booth with where I could stream from, and I got a little tour around everything, and I was like, this is big, and this is big for Football Manager. Those two things weren't quite adding up in my head. We went through to a back room, and it was like a spaceship. It was screens everywhere. It was the whole production section. I was saying to Ben, is this what Nerd's room looks like during a streamer showdown? Because that was the vibes I was getting from it. But it was, the whole production and the amount of money behind it. And then you remember it's for a Football Manager tournament, and you just think it's really surreal. So then watching some of the broadcasts and seeing, I was like, these are my mates, and they're doing this whole big thing. It was really cool thing to see, but definitely surreal. So yeah, I just kind of like just took it all in, just enjoyed being there, really.
Yeah, I suppose it's nice to see some of the boys that you've known of for the last few years within the community involved in it as well. But I saw that you sort of did was it like a roundup thing?
Yeah.
You did one of the videos, and you seemed like a natural host on that as well.
Well, thanks. She sprung me on that. Did one of the organisers there? I was like, we want you to do this. I was like, all right. So I said yes, and then I sat there, and then I had like 20 minutes whilst they're doing the press conferences to write like a roundup of everything, and then they were like, I mean, you're used to this, I'm sure, but yeah, talking in front of the whole team with all the lights and everyone behind you is it was daunting, but I genuinely really enjoyed it. I was thinking I could definitely do more of this. It was really good. I'd love to.
Did you have to did you cock up at any point, or just do it one take?
Honestly, I think there was one part that I re-recorded, and the guy was so nice. He was like, "That was so good. You are a natural at this. You are so like," because he was shocked that I did it in one take. But to be honest, it was the only bit to camera was like the very first intro, and then it was just voice. So they were obviously recorded, but then they told me they're going to overlay all the footage anyway. So I kind of took the pressure off anyway. But no, it was good.
I love that. Like I think sometimes if you rehearse it too much, you can sort of cock it up. There was a shoot that I did. It would have been over 12 months ago now, and it's for Sky Bet about like a Premier League preview. And they didn't really say what you want. They were like, we want you to talk about Wolves, but we want you to talk about it for 2 minutes and do like a little preview. I was like, right, okay. And then we got there, a bit like that, massive camera crew, a guy with a boom arm, lighting guy. Then there were other football fans watching as well. I was there like, shit, like this is like, and I just smashed it in one take. They were like, again, similar, like, oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And I watched everyone else do it, and it took other people like 20 minutes to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, all right, sound, yeah. But I think sometimes it's just like one of those, if you get too nervous for it. It's just one of those things. But even like, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying, like the likes of Kev and Ben doing the hosting as well. I remember the first ever time I met Kev, which was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I felt like in a normal environment, he was very difficult to speak to as a person. And then I saw him within 12 months and he was doing more content. And it was like I was speaking to a different person. It was crazy. Now to see him there, he seemed like a natural, and Ben, they seemed like natural hosts, and the banter and how everything flowed between them all. Like, I think it's both of you boys have been a part of it. It's genuinely crazy to see how far the FM community has come in terms of the quality of content, which I'll talk about in a second as well, but the growth of the game and the growth of the community in terms of followers and subscribers as well. It's amazing, genuinely.
For sure. I was thinking this exact thought, basically, seeing like Ben and Kev up there, and they were just so natural. And I know that I was chatting to Ben, I think afterwards, and he was telling me how nervous he was before the first one, and then after the first one it's all good, because they also had to wait to do those bits. I think they weren't until like 5 p.m, so they were kind of like hanging around all day waiting to do their bits to camera, and then having meetings about, you know, what content was going to be part of it beforehand. But I remember just looking around, and I like, Aaron was so good. Like, he's so charismatic, and everyone loved him. And then there was like Jack doing his thing, and Tom was coming up doing the press conference. And I just remember thinking, there's so much talent, like genuine, actual like talent in this group of people. And obviously these are the guys that I knew. And then there's some of the creators or the competitors from the other countries were great as well. But it is how naturally people took to that, because it was a big stage. Well, at least it felt like a big stage because of the production value of everything there. But yeah, no, it was really cool.
I think as well, like, it's cool to see all the creators that everybody in the community knows, right, who've been doing this for years. But you can be nervous. Like, I could sit there and ask you to talk about something you don't really know about, or you're kind of sprung in. But when it's people who actually know the game inside out, and have been involved in the tournament kind of side, you know, Streamer Showdown and various other ones, even though you might have that initial like, holy shit, there's cameras on me, and people like the topic knowledge is there. And it's cool to see FIFA obviously respecting that and bringing, because like I think it's fair to say, you know, when you compare obviously the EA Sport with FIFA, I never play EA, but whatever it's called now, when you compare like the size and scale and how long those esports has been going on for, and the creators that are doing it, it's like for it to be the first one, I think you know, it was probably, I think it felt like it was thrown together, you know, relatively quickly from when it was announced, you know, in the summer. And but just the pictures, the videos, it looks unbelievable. And this can, like, some people might look at it and some people will be like, oh, how come such and such is involved, or, you know, it's hard to get in. But like, this can only be good for the game. Why? Because it brings in more people and more money, and that's what the game ultimately needs, because that's how you improve the game. So yeah, no, fair play to everyone. It looked unbelievable. I'm still pissed there was no Irish competitor, but after what we've talked about with international breaks, there's no fucking surprises here, is there?
Yeah. Hopefully it grows. We joked, Clayts, and some people, when they see your name on the title of this pod, are probably like going, oh, because at the end of last week's pod, Duke was like, oh, they should do an Premier League. And maybe Dave could get the Wolves one, and I said, "Well, no, because Clayts could probably get that job again." And then when Duke messaged me saying, "I've actually got Clayts on the pod next week," I was like, "Oh, right, okay." Like, he probably didn't come on. He's like, "Yeah, let them two fight it out." But that was funny. That was an interesting time as well.
That was, wasn't it? That was. Enjoyable.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Content creation, though, Clayts, we've not really sort of properly spoke about the whole content creation side of things for probably quite a while on this pod as well. But I think you started FM 18, FM 19, I think, on YouTube.
19, I think. 19 on Twitch.
So it's been about 5 years. Yeah.
And then I think it was a bit, well, I don't know how long. I don't know if it was into 20. I think it was right towards the end of 19 that I started on Twitch, and then probably YouTube 20.
You can see even on your YouTube, the quality of videos and graphics and everything just like gets better and better. And I suppose that just comes naturally anyway with every YouTube channel, really. But I mean, on YouTube, you're pushing a 100,000 subscribers. Hopefully this time next year, we see the little plaque next to your shirts there.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, over 10 million views on YouTube. What has been your sort of opinion on the way that FM content creation has changed? Because probably last maybe 18 months, 2 years plus ago, it was just Let's Plays. That's all anyone was doing, with the sprinkle of experiments until people got bored of it. Yeah. But I think, and you'll probably say the same, I think when Zealand came in, the sort of scope and the way people made FM content completely changed, because I think he showed that you don't have to do Let's Plays to be successful or to, you know, to give your opinion on FM. But what's your opinion been? Because you would have been, you know, you would have seen the full scope as well doing content for that long.
Yeah, definitely. I think you kind of summed it up with that. It's just people. It's broadened. It's changed. It's difficult because I think the quality, the bar is just constantly being raised higher and higher. And you look now, you can click on videos from newer creators, and they don't have all the numbers behind them yet, but you look at the quality of the videos they're producing and you're like, okay, they are a lot better than I was when I first started out. And that just, I think that
Yeah.
just really sums it up, because I'm like, these are really good videos. And I think even now, if I was to put a video out as good as some of those videos that I click on and watch, I'd be disappointed if I was getting those numbers. And that's, so it's like, okay, that's kind of what you're up against. And then you got the guys at the top, obviously. But yeah, for me, it's just about trying to find things that I'm comfortable doing that are, a little bit different, that you can kind of, carve out your niche a little bit, do things in a different way, in things that you're genuinely going to enjoy doing. Because I think that's obviously a thing as well with with the quality rising the way it is, and people, going out and doing all their own things. You kind of, there's a bit of a feeling of you need to follow those trends and be part of that, but trying to follow them in the way that, so to make successful videos, but in a way that also you're enjoying it and it is authentic to you. But yeah, over the past however long I've been doing it, I look back at my first videos, I'm like, I might unlist this because it looks so bad compared to what they are now. But I think it was of a time, and I think if you looked across the other videos, it was quality wise, I think they weren't too far behind at that time. It's just the way that things have gone.
Yeah, you don't. It's so rare now to see that sort of let's play type series on a YouTube channel. It's like Twitch. That's all where it belongs. You can sit and have a laugh with people and stuff. But
Yeah.
a standard sort of let's play series is like a thing of the past now. It's crazy. It's genuinely crazy. But the standard of videos, the ideas that people have been coming out with over the last sort of 12, 18 months, like whether it's not even you like old school experiments where let's give £10 billion to a non-league club, which sometimes is cool and quite interesting to watch. But like other things, like I'm going to be playing or this particular tactic for a season, or this, and this, and it's experiments. But you're thinking outside the box. Tom FM's done a lot of those. This year, which are intriguing, and even some of the long form content, which I think I saw you have on your channel. But there's been a few people do that where it's not like a standard 10-15 minute video. It's videos that are like an hour to 90 minutes long. How much work did that take to put in? Is that all on your own back, or do you get other people involved in that? Or
so I did the first one. We did the Malia save. So that was they're in the Spanish leagues, but it's over the water near Morocco. It's in northern Africa. So I did a save where we could only use African players, because actually you can register them. They could be part of in the Spanish leagues as well. And I just did it the whole save in one video and called it a movie and did it all myself. And it was honestly a labor of love. But I was like, this is really good, and did it like went really far with it in terms of like selling the story. At the end we had credits where it had updates on what the players have been up to after their careers and things, and we had Lamp Z who became a musician and things like that at the end. That's how far we went with these things. But that video's done so well. The only if I could knock one of those out every couple of months, I would do it. It's just the work that has to go into do it. It's just so much. But I think it's by far my most successful video.
694,000 views, listeners. If you haven't, I've watched this. If you haven't watched this, you need to be one of those, because it's just not like any other video you'd probably watch when it comes to Football Manager. And what I do when I'm watching, like I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube for FM that I'll watch is when I'm not playing. Or maybe I haven't got a good save on the go, or even if I haven't time. And if I'll know I watched a good video if it makes me want to go and pick up FM again. And that's like, this is definitely that by a mile. Plus just the entertainment value alone, it's really, really good.
I thought it was. I think it's one of the first. I think a few people have done similar things since, and it's there's a lot of. And if you looked at other games, a lot of people do their content in these ways and do these movies like this. So I really wanted to do one. Also because it's the type of content that I will just watch. I watch like DayZ videos, for example, but they're always like an hour and a half long, but that's perfect. So you stick it on and then you're doing whatever you're doing and kind of just have a video on. So I wanted to try and do videos like that, but with FM. But obviously with FM, you kind of have to, there's a lot of downtime, but you have to be engineering the narrative the whole time with an FM video, don't you? But yeah, if I could do more, well, the plan is to do more. It's just finding the time to actually do it. Yeah.
It's because there have been, again, this was a sort of a thing that wasn't a thing like 3 years ago. people going full time with the game now as well,
Yeah.
which is crazy. You know, I find I remember when I started doing content like FM 16, 17 properly, and I think at the time Benji sort of was doing it full time. I can't even think if there's anybody else because Jack was still working a job at the time as well. There just weren't many people out there at all, and the fact now that people can make a living off it as well, and I think it's great that it's nice. Obviously, you're making a little bit of money off it, Clayts. I'm sure people can appreciate, but having time to play that whilst having a normal job, let's say normal, you know what I mean, like an everyday job. It's a nice little bit of pocket money for you as well. But it's nice to have that balance, isn't it? But I still find it amazing that people are doing it full time. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's going to be a whole new wave of more people as well. I think there's just, and like you say, when you have things like the big tournaments and FIFA getting involved, there's more eyes on, more money in it, and more people going to have the chance to do that. I think.
Fingers crossed.
TikTok as well.
Yeah.
TikTok is going to change a lot of it. But it is. I've noticed some guys are doing incredible on TikTok. I don't follow it much.
It's still untapped, I think, for FM at the moment. There is FM content on there, but I don't think people have used TikTok unless I'm just not, my For You page isn't working properly. But I just I think there's a space there for a lot of more FM content on there as well.
I started doing some probably a couple of years ago, and I think I've got like straight away from just doing maybe 10 or something videos, got like 16,000 followers on there.
It's easy to go on there, isn't
and
it?
I was like, do you know what, I'm not going
to
the market is 100% there. You don't, and the videos you don't need to put, it's TikTok, you don't need to put loads of time into them. They don't need to be high quality, I don't think, for FM. The only reason I stopped, I was like, actually my class is going to be on TikTok. I don't really want to be all over that as a platform necessarily. But for sure, there's people who are doing really well on it, and there's 100% the market there.
Yeah, definitely. And if there was somebody listening to this podcast, Clayts, thinking, you know what, for FM25, I'm going to start making content. What sort of advice or tips would you give to them in regards? Say they want to start a YouTube channel. What would you say?
So it's usually the same advice, and that is you just have to start doing it. Don't overthink it to begin with. Start and find out what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And also you are going to be not so good at it at the beginning. So just begin. And I think, like I was saying before, find things that you enjoy doing. Yeah. And then people will enjoy watching things that you're enjoying doing. So like see what people are doing, watch content, and you'll naturally pick up, mannerisms and tips and things from the way that people are doing things. But start, because you're only going to get better when you start doing it and practicing it.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's a patience game as well, I would say. Like I remember you starting out, like we've all been around for a while, but like it takes a while. You see a lot of people get very frustrated, but it just does it. Like YouTube algorithms, getting your audience, it's slow, and I think people really need to set the clear expectations. Like this could take a while, but if you're, like you said, if your stuff is good and if people like what you're producing and if they see you having fun doing it, got to stick with it. Because I've witnessed the journey you've gone on. It's unreal. I mean, props to you for doing it. It's incredible. Seriously.
Cheers.
No, definitely. Fingers crossed. Well, there's more to come from Clayts and the listeners of this podcast. If anyone is interested, obviously drop us a message on Twitter or whatever, and we'll check out your content. And maybe even now, if you want to get the foundations down, although it's quite a quiet time in FM. But, if you want to get some practice in, it's probably not a bad time to do it. Get the foundations down for your channel, your Twitch channel, YouTube channel, and then you can build straight away from FM25.
Can I ask? I need to ask Clayts one more question about something I observed. It was something that happened during the summer transfer window, Clayts. I saw a tweet with three very famous words that are connected to you, usually, which are "up the wife."
Yeah.
Did you get yourself married over the summer?
Yeah, got married in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
Congrats.
So yeah, that's hence why, some content's been on the back burner a little bit. It's been a busy month, but yeah, very happy.
Good. I was meant to say that at the start of the show, but obviously being in a mad rush.
We wanted to keep all the ladies listening to this point.
Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Gone
well, we'll have a very, very quick quiz then. If they're not listening, I'm sure we can't embarrass ourselves with a quiz. I had written, I think I'd written 9 questions with a tiebreaker. So 10 questions because obviously Duke was here. You're going to have 3 each, but we'll have 5 each. We'll do it penalty shootout style. And Matt, you alluded to it earlier. They're all about players that switch their national teams. So,
oh no,
don't worry. There's no England or Ireland. Well, There are
Okay.
England and all Ireland ones, but nothing
Yeah,
about
okay,
Declan
fair.
Rice or Jack Grealish. Okay, it's because you're the
Good.
guest. Do you want to
Yep.
go first or second?
I'll go first. Go on then.
First, no problem. So if you are unsure on the question, it'll get passed over to the other person,
Okay.
and they can get a point. And let me take a note of these. So, question 1, Clayts. Which Croatian international, originally born in Switzerland, representing the Swiss at youth level, had a long career playing for the likes of Schalke, Sevilla, and Barcelona?
Croatians. Ooh. Barcelona, Schalke, and
Sevilla. Lots of other clubs involved, but they're the sort of main three, I would say.
Swiss, I guess.
Yeah, represents Croatia, but he was born in Switzerland.
Ivan Rakitic?
It is Ivan Rakitic. Yeah, well done.
I was waiting in the wings.
Mad, this player made 2 appearances for the Brazil national team before switching to represent Spain in 2014. His most recent Premier League spell was actually with Wolves.
Has to be Diego Costa.
It is Diego Costa. Easy.
You had to get the Wolves thing in there as well. Clayts.
Totally
unnecessary.
Okay, 2 questions.
Wolves legend and former Brazil and Spain international.
Clayts, which set of brothers represented different nations, Ghana and Germany, throughout the 2000s and 2010s?
The Boatengs.
Yeah, it was. And you know their first names?
Jerome and Kevin Prince.
That's it, Jerome and Kevin Prince. Yeah. Kevin
George.
Prince did represent Germany, but he got kicked out of the under-21 squad for going to a nightclub and didn't represent them.
He's had some patchy disciplinary things, hasn't he, Kevin Prince?
This is quite a tough one, I reckon, Matt, actually. But despite being born in Belgium, Nasir Chadli actually represented another nation once before he made his Belgian debut. Which nation was this?
Oh, probably one of 2. I'll go with the first one that came into my head, Algeria.
That's what I thought.
Is it Morocco?
Morocco. It is unlucky. Yeah, it was
the
Morocco. Unlucky. Good
Can
on
we just edit that out and pretend I said Morocco?
Clayts, Victor Moses represented England at youth level, but went on to represent Nigeria at a senior international level. But which championship side had the 33-year-old joined this week?
Is it Luton Town?
It is Luton Town. Yeah.
Did
you know that one, Mad?
Glad I didn't. No, I didn't even hear that he joined them. I'm glad I didn't get that question.
Florin Balogun is another player who represented England at youth level, Mad. But which nation does he now represent?
He represents the United States of America, or the USMNT.
USA. Thanks. Which other nation could Lucas Podolski represent before he committed to Germany?
Poland?
He is Poland. He's on a roll. He's doing well. Apparently, at the time, I think it was early 2000s, their manager said they had much better players than him in their setup, so they never picked him.
Jeez.
Unlucky. Mad, which player now represents Sierra Leone, despite making their England debut in 2012? The player played for Tottenham, Liverpool, QPR, alongside many more.
It's too. I always get these guys mixed up, and I nearly said the wrong one first. So the correct answer, I believe, is Stephen Cocker, but I nearly said Curtis Davies, and I don't know why.
Curtis Davies.
Like same. I think they both came through.
Yeah. It's not bad. I think he's still playing in Turkey at the moment. So
Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Weird coincidence.
Clayts, I think this is a tough one actually, but you might get it with the clues. Which Dutch international, actually named after a famous actor, represented Aruba from the Caribbean twice before making his debut for the Netherlands?
Oh, Aruba.
The actor thing now is. I've not even listened to any of the clue. I'm just thinking about.
Same. I can't even think of anything. But I'm trying to think of Dutch players. Any Dutch players right now?
Current Dutch international. Current Dutch international. Represented Aruba twice.
Aruba. No idea. No idea.
Mad. It passes over. This is your chance to get back in it.
Can I just have the question one more time? Because I wasn't paying fully attention. I just heard
Which
actor. and
Dutch
my mind was going.
international, named after a famous actor, actually
Oh, I know
represented
it. Bring it back.
Aruba from the Caribbean
I know
twice
it.
before making his debut for the Netherlands?
Can you come back before you tell him the answer if he doesn't get it?
Van Dijk, I don't know.
It's not Virgil van Dijk.
Is it Denzel Dumfries?
It is Denzel Dumfries.
Ah,
he, was
so
named after,
annoying.
he was named after Denzel Washington. Yeah.
I literally went through the team until I got one. I was like, that's an actor's name. Yeah.
What a question.
It's a good question.
Mad. I think this is, if we're not counting the Dumfries one, this is for a draw.
Yes.
Wilfried Zaha.
He missed a penalty. There's no rebounds.
No.
Wilfried Zaha represented England twice at senior level before switching allegiances to Ivory Coast in 2017. But which club did Zaha join on loan from Galatasaray on deadline day this summer? I didn't even realise he moved, to be fair.
I've got two clubs in my mind. Was it Ajax?
It's not Ajax, Clayts.
Is it Leon?
Do you know it? It is Leon.
That was the other club in my
mind. And Clayts at the back post. Last minute tapping. He finishes Clayts 5, Mad 3. Good knowledge, lads. And the Denzel Washington one. Well, Denzel Dumfries one was.
I'm annoyed with myself because I got that so quickly after passing it as well. So annoying, but oh well.
Nah, you did well, very well. Well done, boys. It would have been interesting with Dupe.
I was never going to win the quiz about changing allegiances, and I'm glad I didn't. To be
By the
honest.
way,
I don't believe in it.
Did you see? I saw the tweet straight after obviously Rice and Grealish scoring the goals. I saw someone tweeting saying, "God, you couldn't write it, could you?" And it got the classic. Well, no, actually, if you were going to write it, sure, you'd write it exactly like this.
Yeah. I didn't catch the game, but when I saw the goal scorers, I was like, no way. So
it'll always just bring me back to when he actually declared he was going to play for England, and usually, as usual, Paddy Power came out with it, and they said basically going against the English, and they were like, "Oh, first they took our potatoes, and now they're taking our rice." I think it was just
very good.
Quality tweet.
What was the reaction in the pub when Grealish celebrated, man?
Oh man, the hatred for that! But I mean, it was made even worse by the fact that Rice literally was like, "No, okay, I won't celebrate." But
yeah,
nobody likes Jack Grealish, especially over here. So
yeah, neither do I. That's all right. Don't worry. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 370 of 5-Star Potential. You can find the links for each of us in the podcast description or by visiting 5starpotential.com, where you can find all of our latest Football Manager content. 5-Star Potential is available on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and most other popular podcast apps and platforms, with a new podcast released every week. Thank you all for listening. There will be more from us next week. Thank you very much, Clayts.
No worries.
Thank you, Mad. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks
Clayts.
a lot.
See you later.
Cheers.
Cheers.